kids, I'm Hilah, and today on Hilah Cooking, we're turning my kitchen into Willy Wonka's Wonderland. And we're gonna make some toffee. We're gonna make some crunchy, buttery almond toffee. This is great for Christmas gifts or just great to eat all by yourself like this. The best thing about this toffee is that there's only a few ingredients. Butter, we're gonna use a whole lot of butter, and sugar, also kind of a lot of sugar, but we're making candy, so what the hell. Some vanilla, some salt, and some nuts. You can make this without nuts if you have an allergy issue. I like to use almonds or pecans, pistachios would be nice, and I've lightly toasted these just by putting them on a dry skillet over medium heat and kind of stirring them around for 2 or 3 minutes until they start to smell kind of toasty and nutty. Noasty, it's a new word. I do recommend doing that before you start making the candy because once we start boiling all the syrup and everything together, it kind of goes really fast. So just have these already done. So, oh, and also an anal probe. Just kidding, a probe thermometer or a candy thermometer or something like this. I'll put a link to the one that I like in the description box below. Okay, so let's go to the stove. I'm gonna put this butter in the pot over low heat. We're gonna melt it down. We're gonna add the sugar, a tablespoon of water, and a little pinch of salt, and just stir this constantly over low until the butter is melted completely and the sugar is pretty much dissolved. Then we're gonna crank the heat up to medium or medium high, and we're gonna put our thermometer in there, and just without stirring it now, just let it come up to 290 degrees Fahrenheit. Right about now, you might be getting the urge to stick your finger in that and give it a taste. Don't do that. It is as hot as the core of the earth and you will burn your finger. So just resist the urge. Okay, once it reaches 290 degrees, we're gonna pop the thermometer out. We're gonna turn off the heat and we're gonna stir in about a cup of the nuts, whatever nuts you're using, and a little bit of vanilla extract, and stir that around vigorously until everything's coated. As soon as you've added your nuts and your vanilla, you wanna immediately spread it out onto a baking sheet that's been lined with either a silicone mat like mine or some parchment paper, and we're basically almost done. Viola. That's an instrument, not a French word that means voila. And then this is what we have. It sets up almost immediately. I'm not gonna touch it, it's still really hot, but these little drops here that kind of splattered, that's already set up. So I'm gonna put this in the fridge to help it solidify a little bit faster, and while it's cooling, we'll make our chocolate spread to go on top. Okay, for the chocolate topping, I am using some dark chocolate baking chunks. These are like 60-something% cacao. I am no chocolatier, which is French for chocolate expert, but something I read a long time ago, and it seems to work, is to temper the chocolate. That is like tempering means like get it to the right temperature basically, so that once it cools off, it'll be nice and crunchy again and hard. So basically you take 3/4 of your chocolate and melt that. I'm just gonna use the microwave. You can do a double boiler too. And then you add in the last quarter and stir it until they're all melted. And that, like the cold chocolate that you add in, kind of like sets the crystalline structure for the rest of the chocolate. So it like resets it to be, to firm up whenever it's cooled off. If you've ever read Cat's Cradle, Ice 9, that's basically the theory we're working with. So I'm gonna take out about 1/4 of my chunks, and I'm gonna put the rest of this in the microwave for like, this is like so unsanitary. I'm gonna put the rest of this in the microwave for like 30-second blasts, and then give it a stir until it's almost completely melted, and then I'll show you what that looks like. All right, after about a minute in the microwave, I stirred it at 30 seconds. It looks like this. It's mostly melted. There's a couple chunks, so I'm gonna add in my still cold chocolate, and we're just gonna stir this together until those bits are melted too. And I do think a glass bowl works really well for this because it retains more heat. So the chocolate kind of cools off slower than it would if you were using a metal bowl. But if you're doing a double boiler, you might end up in a metal bowl, and that's okay too. Okay, it's almost all melted. I'm just gonna leave it there. I think if I leave it for 30 more seconds, it'll all be fine. I'm gonna grab our cooled toffee and we'll top this mother. Okay. All right, so this is nice and hard. If you wanted to, you could score it into like rectangles or squares or something before you put it in the fridge, and then it makes it easier to break. But I kind of like the irregular shards that it breaks into like this. So I'm gonna chocolate it up. Now you can leave it plain or you can sprinkle it with some more nuts, some dried fruit, dried cherries, cranberries would be pretty. You can do a little coarse salt. So let's do some nuts on part of it. And let's do some dried cherries on part of it. And like I was saying, I think like green pistachios and maybe red dried cranberries would be really pretty and Christmassy looking. And then maybe just some coarse salt down here. Let's do some salt on that part too, and some more almonds, just because salt and nuts go so nicely together. Okay, then we'll put this back in the fridge for a few minutes until the chocolate is set, and then we'll break it up and then we'll eat it. We'll break up and eat it. And that's it. Once the chocolate is firm to the touch and looks dull, it should be fully set, so you can break it up into chunks. If you want to give this as gifts, it's great for that. I would recommend breaking it up and then like layering it between wax paper or parchment before you put it in a container of some kind, just so they don't all stick together. I think it's best if you keep it in the fridge just because the texture seems better, but that might just be me. If you want another edible gift idea, I did a chocolate truffles video that I'll tag onto the end of this video, but now I'm gonna eat this. Oh my God. It's like really easy to chew. And it's buttery, and it's caramelly, and it's nutty, and it's chocolatey. That's so good. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. You can click right down here. And I will see you next week with more videos. Okay, bye.